Yeah, right.
Whoa, this ain't going.
Be down the side. And
But I appreciate everybody on the chat tonight for your comments. Well, hello, folks. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight to the Bee Connection. As you can tell, I'm in a little bit different setting tonight. Got Spanky with me. We are actually at the North Carolina Bee Conference, and we decided we'd go ahead and do a live stream with you tonight. So, got any questions about what's going on down here? You're more than welcome to ask those questions in the chat. And I'll probably be a little less on the computer because my setup's just a little different tonight. So, but anyway, we're going to kind of go around like we always do and just check out with what everybody's bees are doing. And I'll go ahead and hey, Zelda, it's nice seeing you again. But my bees at my bee yard are putting brood in. The pollen's rolling in like crazy. Things are really booming at the house. So, probably the same thing with Spanky. Looks like the elevation's not playing as much of a part right now. So things are really rolling. So what about you, Spanky? How's things going to your area?
They're bringing in pollen.
Yeah.
I was watching them. And now, with it warming up into the 70s, they zooming in and out.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It won't be long. We'll be seeing swarms.
Yep, absolutely. And guys, this is the time of year, get ready for whatever your goals is for the year. For me, I've got 3 or 4 different things going on, some nukes, some queen rearing, and some honey, and chasing some sourwood to go along with that. So, right now is the time to set yourself up for success. I did put some pollen patties on. I've already treated my hives this year for the spring. So, hopefully my hives are ready to go. And, I know, Spanky, you don't really feed your hives that much.
I try not to.
Right. A little bit more natural. And, hey, whatever your beekeeping way is, there's nothing wrong with that. We all have a little different way of keeping bees. And depending on your goal, that beekeeping may be just a little bit different, versus raising queens or just being a backyard beekeeper. Those can be 2 different things. So just remember that. So, Tom and Melissa, how's things going with you guys?
Rainy.
Oh.
yeah, it kind of started yesterday. It was a little bit gloomy. We didn't get any rain like they were kind of originally forecasting for us, but it was only about a high of 52, 53. So it was a little bit chilly. Bees weren't really flying too much, but I didn't really dig down into them, really much at all. My plan was originally, before it started to get just a little bit chilly and get rainy here for the next couple of days, was actually to try to double check the feed and put the big feed tank on there and run out and try to top everything off again. I got an initial 1 to 2 gallons of feed on each one of my colonies, depending on how big the cluster was. On the smaller clusters, I'd do a gallon-ish. On some of the larger ones, I did 2. And then I would take the global patties that we had gotten from the Nabi, and most of those I would only give, since they're 1 pound patties, I only put about a half a pound on them. And if the cluster was a little smaller, maybe just a little bit less than that. So, like we kind of spoke about before, my goal, and you said that, Ricky, it depends on what people's goals are.
Yeah.
Your goals will determine what it is you need to do. So when people ask, what should I be doing in my bees this time of year? That's really a trick question, right? Because the first thing that we would say is, well, what are your goals? And also, what do your colonies look like right now? What area are you in? What region are you? And that would probably determine exactly what it is that you might do and how you would proceed with your own colonies based upon how you particularly want to manage them and move forward. But, so I've kind of said this before, but I'll reiterate it for anybody that knew that might be in the audience there. We do feed our bees as necessary. And my goal here is to try to get my colonies to build up just a little bit sooner. I don't want to get too far out of the natural part because I don't want them to be super brood heavy if we go into a real heavy cold snap, since we are located here on the eastern side of Missouri, just outside of St. Louis. So, we can still have some little flip-flop weather, but we also will feed pollen. I generally don't feed much pollen, but my goal and idea behind feeding pollen is that I can help to span those gaps that we'll have. Whereas if I get a day like yesterday, today, and what tomorrow is supposed to be like, where it's a little chillier, it's a little rainy and windy, the bees don't like to fly. So I know that there's no resources coming in. If I can feed them a pollen patty and or sugar syrup to help, bridge those gaps, that's what my goal is, to keep them moving along. So we don't really feed any pollen or sugar feed until we start to see a little bit of that natural stuff start to come in. So really that's my goal, because we will be making splits to keep for our own. Some of them will end up being sold. And so again, I'm trying to get them to brood up or stay consistent with that. But it's been a little chilly though the last day or two, and I expect that tomorrow's going to be one and the same. So
we actually haven't even gotten into our hives and done any inspections yet to even really look at any of the brood patterns yet.
Yeah, not full.
Just kind of looking at the clusters when we went to feed them and things like that. And then this week was cloudy and rainy, so
yeah,
we've
actually split. We manage double deep. We don't manage single deep. So we'll actually split the boxes and look in between. I can check up through the centers a little bit easier from the bottom to see if they're occupying both boxes, just the top box, and or you can usually count easier from the bottom how much brood you have, or how much, this time of year for us, generally speaking, it's not full frames of just packed out brood. It's usually tighter clusters, which is what I would rather see. I don't want to see a whole huge several frames of brood, whereas the coverage might not be as good if we get into a cold snap where it drops back down cooler. So it's probably okay that they remain just a little bit conservative at this point in time of the year for us anyway, in our region. So, so far, well, from what I've seen, everything's looking good, and I'm only at about a 19% loss total on everything. So for me, I'll accept that. That's decent. And everything else that I had left all looked pretty good at this point.
There's maybe like one or two that were like, we'll see what they do.
A little iffy depending on how many stressors hit them. If we had a lot of cold snaps or things like that, it could push them over the edge. But I'm right there at that.
Bless you.
20%.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
So, but so far so good. It seems like our season, I would say, probably across the nation, in the United States, seems to be a little bit early for the most part, most people. So that kind of has found the trend that we kind of seen last year, really,
Yeah, just as long as we don't hit that cold snap.
I know, that's the scary
or
thing.
more like this, pray that doesn't happen,
Yeah,
you and me both.
Yeah. So
for us, and I think probably for you too, Ricky, and you might have a couple more nectar sources. For us, what I would consider to be our premium crop or premium honey would be our black locust bloom.
Yeah.
And those blooms, as anybody that has it in their own area knows, those are very sensitive. They are very, very, very cold sensitive, and they're very wind sensitive too. So if you have several days of wind, that can actually blow the blooms completely off the trees themselves. So we want to see mild weather, fly weather during that week and a half time, because I don't know about you all, but our bees can pack that away. I mean, just crazy. It's awesome. I absolutely love this stuff. So
yeah, I think probably the blackberry bars maybe first, some of the more early sources in apple trees, and then kind of goes black locust for us. So it just continues to creep up, and then we get to the poplar, and that gets to be huge up here. And if you guys haven't seen the video with who was it we was watching? Keith Spillman with Tim and Hannon. He talked a lot about the poplar and how much honey nectar source that gets off. And I really like the poplar honey. It's extremely good. We just get an abundance of it. And it's just, okay, people don't really think much about it. But if you get a chance, go watch that video with Tim and Hannah. Well, I think Tim was on there mostly, and with Keith Spillman. That was a very good video. Me and Spanky watched it on the way down. It was great. It just shows the people that's in the chat how much you guys know. I mean, it's just amazing. I've seen Keith. I've talked to Keith on the live chats and stuff, but actually get to watch him. And then, somebody else that was on here was Brian with Flower Streets. When Lee did that speech with him, or that stream with him, that was another really good one. So we appreciate you guys in the chat. I mean, I always say you guys got probably more knowledge than I do about beekeeping. So, and I appreciate you coming in here and just listening to us. So, yeah. So, Lee, what's going on down there with you?
Jumbling around in the background. Waiting on more weather to come in. We've been getting quite a bit of rain this week. Rained out a couple days early. Made it all day today, but we're looking at 90% chance of rain again coming in tomorrow, and some good bit of wind coming too. But we started to get a few things blooming out here. Let's see, we've got the fleabane, false hawksbeard, white clover. Seen quite a bit of dandelion around. A little bit of crimson clover starting to bud out. Not a whole lot of that yet. But hopefully this rain and the warm weather that we're going to be having, everything will be blooming soon.
Right.
I sent you a picture yesterday. We was 84, 85 degrees at about 5 o'clock yesterday evening.
Yeah, it's going to give him one of those for that. Yeah.
I'll just wait till summer rolls around.
Yeah, when summer rolls around, I'm the one laughing. He's the one that's struggling, right? Yeah.
I think I sent you a couple of temperatures last year, 115, 116.
Yeah, that's right.
It gets rough. Oh, yeah, definitely.
You're throwing around some harsh words there, Lee.
Yeah, definite.
Yeah, I think all next week we're supposed to be like in the 70s, where like low 70s is where we're supposed to be. So everything's gonna get green and start popping.
I say we got a cool front coming. We was in the low 80s yesterday, but we are going to be in the upper 70s next week. So it'll be a little bit better on us.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bees, they definitely bringing in a whole lot of pollen right now.
Oh yeah.
So Lee, down there where you're at, you guys definitely can have swarms now. Your season's pretty much started, right?
For me in my area, I would say mid to late March is our peak swarm time down here.
Is there a certain plant that blooms that kind of sets that off? For us up here, for me, I think it's the apple trees. I can pretty much say when the apple trees have bloomed, swarm season's here. It could happen at any time. What about you? You see that?
The only one that I really notice as far as like swarms, and the bees don't even mess with the tree, is the Bradford pears. Once those start blooming out, swarm season's pretty much on around here.
Wow. What about you, Tom and Melissa? When do you see, what plant do you see? You can say, hey, swarm season's probably starting anytime now.
That's a good question. I would say you may not be far off when I'm thinking about blooms. What blooms are hitting at that point in time? I'm going to say apple may be close to that, because I think it really is before we get to our main black locust flow, which that generally for us is the very tail end of April going into May. But I would say just before that, we would probably start to get in where we'll start to see some swarms. They may not be heavy at that point in time, but colonies that came out really strong will probably start to swarm at that point in time. Because when they really start to pack on that nectar from the black locust, that is for us is really heavy. I mean, it can come in just like a lion. I mean, it's just really hard. But I would say probably leading up to that is when we would see them. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I feel like that could be a little sooner this year than it has before. I think that it's very possible. But again, that would still correlate with the bloom cycles too, because if the weather's a little bit more appropriate or a little bit warmer, those particular plants are going to bloom a little bit sooner too.
Yep. What about you, Spanky? What do you see down in Awful Mountain that you say, this is the plant when it blooms. This is pretty much when I know swarm season starts.
I'm not sure because a few weeks ago we started baiting, which is the earliest we've ever baited.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying the lemongrass and swarm rustler. And in boxes I sprayed with that swarm rustler. After I sprayed them, be coming back. Go over here and look, and then go back in box.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. Yep.
So they might be getting ready already.
Yeah, definitely could be getting ready really soon. So, I just, swarm season, to me, is a very exciting time. I like catching swarms. Some people, that's not what they want to see because, you're trying to or trying to raise trying to raise colonies strong enough for making honey. Yes. And that's one thing you don't want to see is that swarm. It's not so bad early, but it definitely sets you back in your with your honey. So.
It just depends on how the flow goes.
That's true too. The flow definitely makes a big difference in that, how well that goes throughout the year. So
for sure.
My thing with catching wild swarms is it's time consuming to me anyway. Like going out, putting up traps, setting traps, going and checking traps because they're at all these different random places. I'm like, we just don't we've set swarm traps out before in several places. And it's like, we just don't have time to keep going back to them, or we forget about them, or, whatever.
Yeah.
Mine are just out in the yard.
I'm like Keith. It's a lot like fishing. I want to catch that big monster swarm that's elusive, and I want to catch that queen like I called a few years ago. That's somebody's breeder queen, and it's just exciting. You've got something that's gotten lost, and you found it. So it's like you won a prize almost.
Got a treasure.
You actually caught somebody's breeder queen.
Sure did. Yeah, it was. Her number was 36, and that's been the best queen that I've had in my bee yard. I made all my queens from her, and raised lots of queens and lots of nukes with her. And then I moved her to one of my other hives, kind of close to late fall, and trying to let her build out another horizontal hive in my building, and then it got robbed out and she got killed.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, you got to spend a little time with her. That was a freebie for you, literally.
There you go.
It was a freebie.
It was definitely a freebie.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. So obviously, if that was a swarm, wherever you caught it, whether it was at your house or wherever it was, that queen didn't go far. So, I mean, there had to be somebody with breeder stock very close by, right?
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Somebody was.
You know who that was?
I had a good idea who it was because there was a new beekeeper probably about a mile down the street.
Yeah.
And they had brand new hives. They were double deep. They looked like they had bought those. And I'm assuming whoever that was, it was some of their stock. Yeah. And I caught that. So.
Oh, that might be our special guest.
Might be your special guest tonight.
I think I know who that is.
I would say a beginner beekeeper buying a breeder queen, that's pretty gutsy. I mean, I wouldn't do that myself. I'm not saying, if anybody would want to do that, that's great. I just wouldn't have the guts to do that. Some of those could be pretty costly, right?
I've been doing beekeeping since 2020, and I still wouldn't buy one right now.
Yeah,
not for the price they want for them, and then not be able to get out there the way that I want to and keep track of them and have a chance of it swarming off and that money gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, Lee. I'm a little hesitant. We were talking about getting one before from Corey Stevens, and then we thought, well, let's just go ahead and let's table that for the moment. Let's figure a few things out, get a couple of
get some more grafting under our belt.
Well, yeah, we just want to get things dialed in right. It isn't like something that you can just go out and be like, well, here's several $100s. I'm like, well, she flew off. Let's just get another one tomorrow, right?
Oh yeah. Well, that's like getting one and just trying to introduce it and then balling it right then.
Yeah.
Or as soon as you open the cage, she takes off or something.
I feel like they're picking on me, Spanky. I really do feel like they're picking on me.
No, not at all. Honestly,
I just bought a breeder. Well, I bought a breeder queen a while back, but I kind of changed it. And I showed it to Lee, and all these things y'all are saying just doesn't make me feel any better. And actually, our special guest tonight, Mark Anderson here, we was just talking about he's got a breeder queen also coming, and actually two, right? Three. He's got 3 breeder queens coming. And man, I'm scared to death. And then these two people here are picking on me about it. And then Mark's been talking about it all day. And it's like, the fear is growing by the hour. I'll tell you that right now.
So where did you get your queen from, Ricky?
Two Rivers.
Yeah. And Mark, where'd you get yours from?
I got two coming from Two Rivers Shibu and one from Jason Bragg.
Yeah, Jason Bragg's the other one. Yep. Yeah. So I'm like you guys. I'm not good at my grafting yet. So I've got some special things that I think I can do just to kind of get myself through it.
Mm-hmm.
But you are definitely gambling, from what I'm being told, that these guys don't really. They get balled up really easy. You can lose them really easy. They supersede these queens really easy. So y'all just pray for me that I can get a few queens off of this and get some great queens. That's what I'm hoping for.
If Lee and myself lived closer to you, we'd set up swarm traps around you and just catch that breeder queen.
Hey, we'll sell her back at half price.
That's right. Hey,
So-
we'll give him a good deal, right, Lee? Because he's a good-hearted man. So we'll just give him a deal on it, getting it back to him.
Well, you
Oh,
give
yeah.
it back to him for that half price,
Hey,
and
you-
you donate that
You
money
learn
to his
some tricks.
Yeah.
super chat.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So hey, these guys have been giving me some pointers, so I'm feeling a little bit better about it. So if everything goes great, I hope it does. But hey, if I lose her, guess what? I got one a couple of years ago. Somebody else's breeder queen. I guess it's time to return the favor to somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to catch yours this year, huh?
Brian,
right.
Or
That's right.
are they going to catch it next year?
Brian
What
brought
did Brian say?
point, clipping a wing on your breeder
Yeah.
queen. That way, she can just fly circles going to the ground, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm
you can
actually
get-
going to put a queen excluder in front of mine so she can't get out.
There you go.
So hopefully I don't have too many drones.
You have to monitor them.
Yeah.
Because if she can't leave, they'll think something's wrong with her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you gotta have a keen eye on if they're trying to swarm. Because if she can't leave and something's wrong,
Uh-huh.
they might supersede her instead.
Oh,
You have to
See.
put her in that box like we were talking about today.
yeah.
Use your
The
follower board with the excluder.
yeah.
Put your queen over there and she can't go anywhere.
Yeah, so Mark, talk to him a little bit about what you was talking there. It's a Bob Benny kind of setup, correct?
Yeah, if you notice on Bob Benny's video with his breeder queen, he'll go in there 4 days before he's going to graft, and he has grooves cut in the box, and he'll put queen excluders down on each side, put a frame in there, put that breeder in there, come back on the 4th day when he's ready to graft, take that frame out, put the queen back in the hive, and graft.
Graft out of those 3 frames that he did that too, correct?
Yeah. Then
Yeah.
the next week he'll set it all up, do it again.
Yeah.
But I was telling you could put that queen over there on one side. Some people run a box like that. I've seen it. They'll have 3 frames over there,
Mm-hmm.
and they are rotating those frames out. And they have a certain time of the week that they come
Yep.
and pull a frame out of there, and they're in rotation.
Oh, wow.
So it's a certain frame you pull out
Uh-huh.
Cool.
and then
Yep.
graft from that, and then the bees are hatching out
Mm-hmm.
on the other side in the rest of the box. So those frames are empty. So
Mhm.
you're bringing those back in for the queen to relay. You just kind of working
Rotating
everything
that
through.
system. Wow, that's a really good idea
Um,
because I was thinking, well, I don't really want to graft that many queens, but if there's a good rotation there, and I know when that rotation
No.
is, that sets up really good.
Sawmill Charlie, I can't remember who he went to, but they were doing that. He's got it on video where they're pulling the frame and they're talking about the rotation.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy I watched. I think he passed away now, but he had some good videos on it. I have to try to dig that up.
Yeah. If you don't mind sending that to me, I'd love to see that. So
That's kind of
really
the
good
system that
information.
I do with the.
Oh, is it?
I'm gonna graft on. Yeah, I use one of the excluder frames or whatever, and then put empty frames on the one side with the queen and let her lay in them, and then I go back, and that way I don't have to search for young larvae frames. I know where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a very good idea. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, we talked about you doing that fat 7-frame appy.
Yeah, I've got a 7-frame appy that I'm going to use for my queen rearing. So that's my game plan because it's got the feeders on top. Keep that colony really, really strong.
It's got already built in where you put the dividers
in. So yeah, that's a really good setup there also.
It's
Oh,
insulated.
definitely.
Yeah.
I actually bought the supers I have 2 7-frames boxes from Appy I got from Arda, and I went at our conference at the NBA conference. I went ahead and bought the supers for those. Still a deep super with the divider also. So that way, what I can do is I'm going to use it for splitting into, not for grafting out of. But at that point in time, then I can separate it half and half and have 3 frames in both the bottoms, and then I can super up as they grow and go ahead and add some frames in up there to kind of keep them moving along. And then I'll have 6 frames or virtually 6 frames about built out with resources. And then from there, I can move them into our 8-frame boxes and then kind of cycle them out that way. So I wanted to try those out just to see how they worked out. Honestly, their equipment really is thought out pretty well when you talk to them about it. So I'm sure I'm not going to go wrong on it, but this will be my first year using those 7-framers, and I don't know, maybe I'll purchase some more if I like them well enough.
Yep. Yeah.
I was talking to the guy about those today.
Yeah.
I went over there and he
Yeah.
give me the rundown on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He was talking about putting a queen on each side
Yeah.
and then
He
your
said
bees in the middle.
He said you can run 4 in that 7-frame. You can run 4,
Wow.
but you would
Yeah,
have
you
to
could,
be.
but that you got to check
gonna be
that every
running.
day.
You're gonna be running. Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
you would need to be pulling. You'd have to have empty comb ready
Yeah.
because until on the ends they're just single frames. So you'd have to pick that queen off,
Yeah. Yeah.
shake them workers, and then
And keep it going.
put the queen that they frame for, didn't they?
I don't think that worked too well with
That's-
4 in there.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little.
You
On the
can
tough
do
side.
it.
You need enough bees in there to,
Yeah.
even if you have one on each side, you need enough bees in the middle to.
And that's why I mentioned, you put it in the middle, up in little dials.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That way it's half the colony can go in there and cluster.
Yeah. So, we got a super chat here from Southeastern Colorado Hives, and I do appreciate them doing that. And and I talked about this last week on the live chat. Any super chats you guys give us, I appreciate it. It's a lot of flattery on my part that you do that, but I like giving things forward. So any of this money that's collected, and we got a little over $100 from the last chat, I will put that money in. We're going to do a drawing, and we're going to give somebody a free horizontal hive. Okay, so we're just going to give that money to everybody else. I appreciate it. You guys are great and awesome. It makes me feel good that you're willing to do that, but I want to pass that goodness on to somebody else. So I appreciate that.
I'll tell you what, Lee, he's just Mr. High Tech, I mean,
He's on everything. Yeah.
I need to go down to his place sometime and have him teach me a few things. I mean, he's got.
That's what I'm talking about.
Come on down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
maybe when we go down to Slidell, we'll have to meet up, Lee, and have some dinner, and we'll chat. And I know I've been pushing. I'm going to try to get Ricky down there too. So I'm going to keep bugging him and pestering him since I got the house already reserved. I got my tickets bought. The house is already reserved. I got an empty room there, so there's no reason he can't come down.
You don't have an empty room. Ricky's going to be in that room.
Oh, well, yeah, that's right. Not an empty room.
Well, we have an empty room waiting for Ricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told Mr. Ed I was going to come down there and stay with you guys in that house, and he's like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "I'm going to come to Slidell and be with you." And he's like, "That's exciting." And you know how Mr. Ed is, and we spent a good long time talking to Mr. Ed today, and he was really excited about having some of us come down and being with him. So I told him I was going to go to his house because he's coming down the street and hit the doorbell and run off.
3 blocks down from that house.
Yeah, and he says, "Well, I ain't got a doorbell, so that was on you, buddy."
Now the thing is, I could get Tom and Melissa, and I could get Ricky here, but I don't know if I'll be able to talk Miss Ruth into coming back.
Yeah, that's no. You weren't gonna do that.
He's not in the backyard anyway.
Yeah.
You're saying if we go down there and get some shenanigans going, she'll be scolding us all, won't she?
Yeah,
I think she's scared of my bees.
Yeah. So, and guys, you guys keep giving me super chats. I do appreciate that. David Lewis, and then Stan, who's a really good friend of mine. that was in Texas that we first met, and he had some bees and took Hive down to him. I appreciate that, guys. It's super kind. And Joseph Rollins, man, you're like up here, by the way. And I was giving Mr. Ed a hard time about, but you're hearing that same story over and over again. And he said, "Did he say that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So
there's Miss Ruth there.
Oh yeah, there's my baby. So she's at home, and she didn't get to come down with us to the North Carolina conference. So it's been kind of rough with her with the new job and not getting to spend some time with her. But at least she gets to hear my voice tonight for quite a while on the live stream. So that works out, right?
Hey, and just to let her know, just to let Miss Ruth know, I do have EpiPens back there now.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
You're good to go, ain't you, Lee?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, since we got our special guest on here tonight, Mark, tell us a little bit about what she say. I went shopping. I noticed that my credit card was denied tonight when we went out to eat, so there was a good reason for that, right? So, but we got Mark Anderson here tonight, and tell us a little bit about your beehives to some of my group, and tell me about your beekeeping experience, and just whatever you want to talk about tonight.
Well, I probably been keeping bees maybe 10 years now.
Right.
And I like making bees. We try to make queens and raise bees, and haven't always, never really focused on honey. You can try to make bees, honey just gets in your way.
That's right. I agree with you.
That stuff is heavy.
It's a long time to process it too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
We always say honey is a byproduct of having bees.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just really enjoy making bees and making queens, and we'll try to amp that up this year. I want to get up to 300 or 400 colonies.
Gosh.
But I say that every year almost, and then just get busy with life, and
right.
It's hard to concentrate on it sometimes. But I'm going to try to make a more effort this year. I want to try to get more videos out. Right now, my phone is full. I can't record any videos, so I got to get that cleaned out. But I want to show you guys what we're doing. Yeah, I need to just get it out and get it saved in something else.
You just need your bigger SD card.
Yeah, that too will work.
Yeah. Well, we're not. Some of us ain't high tech like you were, Spade.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I just went on Amazon.
I'm just picking on you, Spade.
Like half a terabyte.
Right.
I went and looked at one of those little. There's a little small thing where you could, it's like an external storage. You could put everything in.
Yeah. What I did is I looked my phone up and I looked up what the max card was it could take, and then I went and looked on Amazon.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. Well, that's good for any of us that's, doing
Yeah.
videos, being able to do that. That's a great idea. Yeah.
Doesn't take long to fill your phone up. You make a lot of videos on your phone.
Yeah, that's true. It eats the memory up quite quickly, don't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely does. So you do, what's your channel?
Sourwood Branch Bee Farm.
Yeah.
And we're going to probably change that to Sourwood Creek
Sourwood
Bee
Creek.
Farm.
Okay.
The branch done fell in the creek.
Right.
That's pretty good.
All this rain, it's
just cover right now, right?
Swarm hit it and it fell in the creek.
Yeah,
Right.
He was gone. So absolutely. But so you're here as a vendor, also. Is that not correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, we sell some hive equipment. We're trying to sell some nukes. We do a lot of nukes, and I'll be going down south next week to pick up a load of bees, bring back. And because we've had some bees down in Florida, but it's just been too much to try to go back and forth down there.
Yeah.
So we're just going to bring everything home. And
So you're gonna do all your beekeeping up here in North Carolina now?
yeah, I'm actually in the edge of Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So you're a little,
just over the line.
just over line.
I throw a rock to North Carolina.
We'll consider you a North Carolina person. That's no problem. So
Yeah.
So, but you've been keeping bees for 10 years and kind of getting into the queen rearing and stuff now, and selling some nukes. So
We're just trying to build up our stock to better stock.
right.
I was talking to you earlier tonight about I have some queens that I've been, they kind of look good. And so I kind of put them to the side. I've been monitoring them, and they've overwintered 2 winters now. and they've always been strong, and they're strong now. And so I want to graft some off of them. Probably when I get back next week, I'll start grafting because I don't want them to play out on me before I can get some of those genetics.
Right.
And so I just really think they're, and I want to do some UBO tests on them to see how they are in that regard.
Right.
And we're planning, I've talked to Mark Miller, get some of his queens. And there was another gentleman, I apologize, I don't remember his name, I have to look it up, but he had some of this Corey stock too.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to get those queens and then grafting off of some of those to build up that VSH drones in my yard.
Right.
And
yeah,
I'm in a secluded area where it's not really any beekeepers around me to speak of.
Right.
And we're in a rural area. It's not a lot of crops.
Yeah.
Right where I'm at. So I can kind of control those genetics a little bit.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So
I think that's, what is it, about 5 mile radius is about good for, you know, making sure there's nobody around you for this kind of queen rearing that you're talking about. Is that about right?
Yeah, I got a neighbor there. He's got 3 or 4 hives. So I'm going to ask him, can I put some bees over his place?
Yeah.
And then give him some queens.
There you go. That's smart move right
that
there.
I want. And try
yeah.
to work with the people around like that.
Yeah. And that way you make sure that all the drone population is coming from the stock that you're looking for. And then you're adding the genetics with these other breeder queens that you're bringing in, right?
Yeah.
So you're getting some really good all-around bees that you've already started building in those steps to already, correct?
Yeah, because over the years, you know, some years we've lost a lot of bees, but it's a loss, you know, monetarily too. But I haven't worried about it so much because I want what's surviving. And then I want to make bees from them the next year. And then, you know, just keep building that strong genetics.
Yeah, that makes great sense.
So that's what and I'm getting more and more bees that are overwintering. So it's working.
Right. That's a very good way to doing the beekeeping. That really is. So excellent. Yeah.
I'm trying to get it to a full-time income so I can be like you and stay home and do bees.
Well, you know, the wife did tell me the other day that maybe that's not going to happen. So, yeah, but she did go shopping, so she spent some money. I think I'm okay.
Right.
And, I can still work this out just a little bit.
Hey, remember, you get to send her out and get her hair done and nails done, and you know, kind of push that out there, and then you ask the tough questions, right?
Yeah, that's right. You know, baby her up just a little bit and make her feel good. And then says, Daddy, you know, Amber wrote this contract up for you, and if you'll sign right here that Daddy can be off, this will work out great.
Done.
So, yeah. But, yeah, Mark, it sounds like you really got stuff kind of rolling in mind and kind of getting set up the way you want it. That's awesome, man. That really is.
I'm trying to work with Mamet to have the appy tablets here in North Carolina and Virginia. And be a place, you know, that people can get those, or we can, you know, have them available from, you know, where I am instead of shipping them from up there. So trying to work with them on that.
Yeah. So explain, because some of my viewers might not understand what those appy tablets is. Explain a little bit about what those are and what that product does.
Appy tablet is, we call it a supplement, but it has like, it's 80% sugar. It's 9 grams of thymol. It has some essential herbs and some, not essential herbs, essential oils and some herbs in it. And for some reason, when you give it to your bees in the hive, mites fall out. And I have noticed a decline in the hive beetles in the colonies that I've had it in. So I think it is doing some good for those too. But really impressed with the results we're seeing. And Bob, he's got the best video on it. You know, when Bob put that appy tablet in what he's calling the ground zero hive. That hive was a goner. And those bees had no brood. She was not laying. That they were getting ready to abscond. And he put the oil tray in, then he got the appy tablet, and basically 3 weeks later, he had a huge mite drop. He's got a video on that. And then 2 weeks after that, like 5 frames of brood back in there.
Wow. Okay.
It's overwintered. He's been posting videos. They've got slabs of brood now.
Mm-hmm.
All he did was put an oil tray in there to try to catch the beetles and a appy tablet.
Yep.
So does the thymol in it actually give a varroa treatment also? Is that correct, or is that just something?
No, it's just a supplement.
Just a supplement.
Just a supplement.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know. So
Wink.
I don't, the bees are supposed to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then it's in their, their hemolymph.
Right.
And when the mites are bite on them or whatever, but I have put a piece of that, like I have an observation hive.
Yeah.
And I have put a piece of that when I first got them from Bob. I put it in the entrance, and in less than 24 hours, I saw mites falling out the bottom. It wasn't a huge mite drop, but there were dead mites falling out of that at the bottom in less than 24 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the bees ate that, and it got in the bees, and mites were, it was working that quick through the bee. I don't see that, but it's possible. But
maybe inside the tablet itself was releasing some that was
you
causing
think
that.
that's how potent that tablet is. They don't even have to eat it.
yeah, I don't. It works.
It works.
Yeah, if it's
I've seen it. It works. And everybody, that we talk to, it's the same thing. Another friend of mine, he had gotten some, and I might have showed you the picture today, where he had a tablet in the first box, so the second box was dropping mites onto that tablet, and it was where that space was for the frames, that tablet was covered with mites.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So I mean, might be something for you to try and then see it for yourself, right?
You got to try it. We can't try it.
Yeah.
See what you see.
Right,
That's what we tell them.
And then, hey, if it works, you better believe there are going to be people probably knocking your door down. So
But
that's pretty cool.
It's labeled as a supplement. If it's labeled as a treatment, they'd have to go through all that.
Yeah.
All the extra stuff that needs to go with it.
So
But
it's
all
a supplement.
Okay.
It's all natural ingredients, no chemicals.
Right.
Thymol is not regulated. You can put as much thymol as you want in a colony. It's not a problem.
Right.
When you read the rules or whatever on it.
Rules and regulation. That's very interesting. I didn't know that. That's some new information for me, and maybe that's some more new information for you guys. And anybody in the chat, if that's something you guys would like to know about or whatever, just check out Mark's YouTube channel, or if we need to, you can contact me, and we'll get you more information about his supplements. So that's pretty cool. So. Yeah. So, Mark, what do you think about the conference here in North Carolina so far? Is this the first time you've been to one? Because it is for me.
No, I've been attending the conferences. I do the Virginia conferences and the North Carolina conference, and they have 2 a year, and try to make those. And we had been selling the Apis Biologics, and that kind of I want to say went awry, but I do have a source to get some if anybody needs it.
Okay.
Can get some of that. And we have the appy tablets, and now we have the hive bodies, tops and bottoms frames. We have all that with a good price on it.
Okay.
You got something else on that table. Starts with a S.
Yeah, we got some swarm rustler down here this weekend.
Some Bob Swarm Rustler.
I sent Lee a picture of your booth. He's got it. There it is.
Oh,
I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
On that little screen.
Yep. That's
got it front and center right there.
Yeah, it's Mark's booth there, and he's right beside of us actually. So we've had some really good dialogue and conversation, and it's been really good. And we've had people ask us, well, does he just have this much stuff? And and so we've been trying to help him out a little bit, and then he's been helping us out also, and he's helped out some of our customers. So just back and forth, and that's what beekeepers do. We help each other out, right? And so it's been really good having Mark with us. Went out to eat with him. That was great. And so far, I think the conference has been pretty good. Probably about 350. I'm thinking probably for the first night. I could be wrong on that. But quite a few people, and got got some great speakers. We got Jeff Horshaw, Mr. Ed, and then you got Randy the Dirt Roosters here with some other speakers. So it's been really good. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of YouTubers that I didn't know that watches me here in North Carolina come up and talk to me. So that was pretty interesting. And a lot of good comments from my wife, if she's still on here, about how good her paintings are and how they like to follow her and see her painting. So, it makes me feel good that they're seeing what she does. But it's been a really good conference all around, and great people.
North Carolina, it's usually a really good conference.
Yeah, it's been a really good
A
conference.
variety of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of everything here.
And
Yeah.
They have a good vendor turnout because they have a good beekeeper turnout.
Yeah.
And it's always been, pretty good conference
Yeah.
that I've been to.
You get you some wax and then a big old chopping knife.
Yeah.
How many vendors do you all have there?
Not
Good
too many.
grief.
What would you say, 20?
At
30?
least 20 or more.
Yeah, at least 20 or 30. It's a lot of your normal guys that come out to the conferences are here. And then you've got some more, I guess, people like me that's kind of getting their feet wet into some of these conferences. So, a lot of really cool people, and some people I hope to bring on our live stream and let you guys meet those people also. We met what was the lady's name? You remember the lady's name with the small hives over there?
Yeah, I know her.
Gosh, I can't remember her name right now. But anyway,
I know her name.
she makes small hives for kids.
Karen Teague.
Yeah. We thought we'd bring her on. She makes small hive for kids.
Fuzzy bees.
Yeah, fuzzy bees. That's right. And hopefully get her on. She talks about these little frames for kids, because the big frames are heavy. Like even for Amber, when she was smaller, picking up a big frame and flipping it around looking for the queen, it was really hard on her. And these smaller colonies, almost kind of like nukes, maybe touch smaller than nukes, but it teaches kids how to do it.
So hers, 2 frames equals a deep.
Okay, is that what it
So
is?
that's half size.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some of those. We got some small boxes. Bob's got some, and I got one.
Okay.
That we got from Mamet that makes the Appy tablets.
Yeah.
And the frames actually come out as 2 pieces, and they connect together as a one
Large frame.
regular frame.
Wow.
So
okay.
you can put it in a regular hive,
Mhm.
get it drawn out, or get it filled with honey, food, whatever, and then pull it apart, put it back in your mating box.
Wow.
We use them as a mating box.
That's what I was about to say. I'd use
It's
it
got
as
a
mating box.
divider in it, and you can run 2 queens in them.
Yeah.
That's three of those little frames. So like 1.5 regular frame.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat.
That's very neat. And that's some of the things we want to, bring on here and show you guys. Some of these really cool guys that are down here that are making some different things that maybe you ain't seen before. Because I just hadn't paid attention, but that's the first time I've seen that myself. So that was really cool down here.
Mamet brought me some. Maybe I'll get one, bring it in tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
See how it works. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, that is pretty neat. So, and for raising queens, that makes it even more interesting for me because not only has Amber been able to use it and play with it, right, but now I can use it for queen rearing also.
And then when you're done in the fall, you take them out, put them together, and put them in a big box, overwinter it. You're ready to go like that in the spring.
Spring can go all over again. That's awesome. That's really cool. So
now she does the same thing, but she connects hers together and with a stick.
Yeah.
And like wire, zip ties them together, so she can put them in a big colony.
Wow.
Same way. Yeah, she has it measured out where it's the same as a regular. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this conversation with her. That's pretty cool. So yeah. Anyway, so anybody got any questions about the bee conference down here before we'll probably open it up to a live chat? And I hope not to stay on too late tonight because me and Spanky's been up since 3:00 this morning. And I need to get some rest for tomorrow, and I don't want to lose my. There you go. Lee found it. Yeah. So
that's her prices, and I'm gonna send him a picture of the box.
Yeah.
I have a question about the Appy tablets, if I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when you put those tablets in there, do you notice that the queen slows down in laying?
No, the tablets do not affect anything. That normal. That's going on in the hive.
Okay.
It doesn't off gas.
Yeah.
anything like that. It's just your bees just like start cleaning up the hive. And Bob Benny told me that the thymol is what causes them to start doing the cleaning.
Yeah.
And
so now, how thick are those tablets? I've seen Bob Walker talk about them a little bit. So can you put those in between 2 deep brood boxes with enough space to put that in there, or do you need to put a feeder shim on top to put that in? How does that work?
when you put them on top, you need a little shim.
Okay.
Because they are a little proud. They
Yeah.
are about like a half an inch thick. And you've only got like 3/8 in there to work with. So it's just a little bit more.
Okay.
But when you put them in, if you have double deep, you put them in between, sometimes it pushes the top frames up just a little, but it's the top, your inner cover still go back on and everything
Yeah.
within a double. But I like to put them, like they say, 1 tablet per deep box. And that is because of the volume of bees.
Okay.
You want that tablet to stay in there at least 4 weeks, to have it available. And usually they last longer than that. But the reason I put mine over the brood, like if the brood is in the bottom box, I put both tablets on top of that first box, because the reason for it is just because there's enough, that the volume of bees won't deplete it like in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I just put it down there where the brood is, because that's where the varroa are, and the bees are eating it right there. But right now is a really great time to get them in. The bees are really working on them, chewing on them good, and taking them up, which they need. They have to eat them, and you don't have to go back and like a apivar strip and pull it out or nothing. Yeah, you don't have to go back and get anything out. It's not off gassing. There's no temperature issue. It can be 40 degrees or 140 degrees. It's no issues, anything like that.
You got other problems if it's 140 degrees.
That's right.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So if somebody was wanting to know, like you said, if he's going to shrink them, and Bob said no, because they were running migratory.
Right.
And Bob said, well, you can stick them in the bottom. Have you tried sticking them in the bottom?
I have put them in the bottom. And I did that in the fall. And the bees didn't really go for them as much in the fall and over the winter. They didn't really chew on them. But now, the bees are starting to amp up. And like if you had a sugar brick in there, how they're going for sugar bricks and stuff. Yeah. Now they're going for them. In my observation hive, when I put it in there, I put it in the bottom and the entrance. And I saw mites dropping within less than 24 hours.
So there you go. If you're running migratories, you just stick it in the bottom.
Yeah, Mamet told us at the beginning, you can just, if you can't put them up, you can put them in the bottom. But I personally feel like you get a little better result up on top of the frames.
That's where they're clustering.
That's where the bees are getting,
especially during winter.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Because I put them in the bottom, and if they were screen boards, over winter, they got some moisture, and they don't crumble apart. They just get soft. So they softened up and they shrunk down a little bit. So when I went back, early spring, if they were there, I'd scoop them up and put them up on top, and then they would squish down, and your top would fit on. So
it's a little bit better that way.
Yeah.
So, Lee, you want to go ahead and put if anybody wants to come into open chat and ask Mark questions, face to face, or you go ahead and do that now. And I can't pin it because my phone went dead. It's been on all day. So anybody wants to come in, Lee will try to post that 2 or 3 times so that you guys can come in and chat with us a little bit on live stream here tonight. So
I appreciate you letting me come in, Ricky. Yes.
Absolutely.
Good to be on the chat, in the chat.
In the chat, actually, yeah. You're always in the chat, but not actually, in the stream itself. And me and you talked about that a little bit. It's and just the same thing with Keith Spillman there. You get to see these guys in the chat, but actually get to see people face to face.
Yeah.
Understand them and understand their knowledge and stuff. And it's great. It's great having you in the chat, but it's even better having you in person.
Yeah.
Talk to.
Yeah, it's great meeting people and getting to know them a little better.
Yeah, right.
Establishing some better relationships.
Yeah, and understanding what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Rick's doing this with horizontals, but you're doing this with the tablets, and you're expanding your apiary, right? So, so you just get to understand that just a little bit better. So,
we've probably sold over 200 nukes so far this spring.
Who is that feller? Well, Matt, we should have just told you to come over here and be with us and been part of the group here.
Yeah, I got on about 30 minutes after you guys started. Had to call the wife.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I did. So
Well,
I think there's like one more spot left on your couch, so
yeah, right here was definitely another spot.
Yeah, we all scrunch up
Right there.
Now he takes you the room and you get off.
Who else is in Ricky's hotel that wants to go invade his space?
Don't worry about coming on this chat. Just come in the hotel room.
Yeah,
We're gonna have a party. So we actually did get talked by the hostess, and she said, "What did she ask you guys, Matt? Right before we left."
Oh, she was asking what all got us into beekeeping and what brought us to the area.
Yeah. She was pretty excited to see why all these beekeepers were here in one spot. So that was pretty cool. So we got to eat with Matt Booth here, and if you guys don't know, he's with Hives for Heroes. Really good guy. Somebody I want to bring back on the chat later on and let you know a little bit more about him. But great guy. Matt, what you think about the conference so far?
I think for their, doing it on the days that they do it, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I think this is one of the better Thursdays I've seen for a turnout. So until they shift the dates more to an actual weekend so more people can attend.
Right. Why did they do a Thursday, Friday, Saturday? Do you know?
I think it's something that they've always done, and it's set up for the retirees that have nothing better to do and they can travel. And I think they get a lower price on the convention centers instead of on a weekend.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, it makes good sense. Yeah.
How do
That's
you
just
get the volunteers though to because you're going to need volunteers to take off Thursday and Friday and to do that. So
I was talking to one of the people from this area, Ricky, and I guess they're still locked in, luckily, to pricing from way back when they started. So They got the conference center for like $9,000 for the 3 days. Right. I guess normally it would cost like $27,000 for the 3 days.
Wow.
So,
yeah. Well, you just take your lumps where you can, and just hope that people get here, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So
yeah,
we might see even more. We might see the rest of the 500 tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think the full 500 was here on Thursday, but I do think we'll see that probably Friday and Saturday. That'll come up. So
just kind of watch that desk when you first walk in, that registration desk, to see how many name tapes are still laying there.
There you go. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
So did they sell like single day tickets or just weekend tickets, or?
I think it's just the conference ticket, and whenever you show up, that's when you get to in. I think so.
Just out of curiosity, what is the 3 day cost? It's all 3 days: Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then also just curious, what's the cost look like on that?
I think I paid $85 for Spanky's. I paid $85 for Spanky's ticket to come be with me, and the vendor price was $125 per table. Does that sound right, Mark?
Mine's $175 for just a single.
Yeah, I think it was $175.
That's
okay. $175. Yeah.
You can do different levels.
For the conference, for an individual, was $85 if you're a member, or $125 for the family. Okay. And if you weren't a member, they pretty much you paid to become a member, and then they just added that to your.
So does that include lunch or any food or anything like that?
Nothing. So Saturday you could pre-order the lunch today and tomorrow for Saturday. Food trucks tomorrow.
It's not far up the street to some little pubs or whatnot,
some good
lunch and stuff.
Yeah, your buddy said it was a really good place just up the street, right?
Yeah, it's some kind of tavern, but he said it was a really good lunch.
Yeah.
I'm asking for research purposes for our workshop next year.
Please don't do it on Thursday.
No, that's not the intention to do that on Thursday.
Well, that's why I was saying like that's really hard to get because I'm sure it's from the Beekeepers Association, right? In North Carolina, like to get volunteers to give up a Thursday, a Friday, and a Saturday. Like that's a lot.
There was a lot of people there today, though, more than I expected, and they were there early because me and Ricky got there a little late, about the same time, and people were already coming out the door with stuff they had bought.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we hadn't even set up.
Yeah. We was like maybe 2 hours late, maybe. I was about 2 hours late anyway. And
I got frames and boxes, and I see people coming out with hands full of boxes. I was like, man, I could have sold them that.
Yeah, and they got what they wanted, and they were headed out. So I don't know.
So did they have any speakers today, or was it just like the vendor?
Yeah, there were speakers.
They had a good talk today by Guy Collins. He did a talk on cotton honey.
Yeah,
and talked all about that. There was some good information in there because I have a lot of cotton around me.
Yeah.
And so I had put bees out there a couple times, but I didn't really get a lot of honey. But another guy came to our local club there and spoke about it, and he told me that he makes a good amount of cotton honey, but he does a single brood chamber, and I was doing doubles. So I think that made a lot of sense to me to do that. And if they put all that honey up, then you get it.
Yep.
But you just got to feed them just as soon as you take it off because they don't have enough down in that one box to carry it. They'll starve in 3 days.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, so that's definitely different. I don't think
there's much cotton honey in Missouri until you get like really far down south, like down by Cape Girardeau and stuff.
Jeff, Mr. Ed, he gave his about 20-minute talk today on, becoming a beekeeper at the Abbey and all that.
Yeah.
And then this one of the state inspector, they had a talk. I didn't get to see much of that at all, but yeah, it was a few talks today, but just kind of preliminary stuff.
Yeah, there's a little bit more. And this is the first time I've kind of experienced because I do a lot with the Nobby, and they just went over like kind of what's going on in the state, and what's going on with the master beekeepers and how they're going to make the test a little bit better, the journeyman, and how they're going to work on that a little bit. So, I do suggest that, anybody that's new to beekeeping, take some classes. It doesn't hurt. I've been a beekeeper for about 3 or 4 years when I first took my first classes and become a certified beekeeper with the state. I thought I knew a lot. Hey, I did a lot of YouTube stuff, right? And around a lot of people that know about beekeeping. But once you take those classes, you understand that maybe I didn't know as much as I thought I did. And maybe some mistakes that I were making was corrected over that time. So, and it really helps having those classes. And then you got a whole classroom of beekeepers to be around. So that was really good. And them talking about how they're going to revamp that system to make it better for the beekeepers and better for you to get your certifications too.
Yeah, so. Even the little online test is getting revamped.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing. When I started keeping bees, like the first year or two, I thought I knew something.
Yeah.
And then but
about the third year, you figure out you don't know squat. And the longer I keep bees, the more I learned, the less I knew or bees. Less I know, because you never learn all about the bees.
I had a conversation with a guy just about that, and I'll be honest with you, my third year was my worst beekeeping year ever.
Yeah,
because you felt like you was there, you finally a good beekeeper, the bees were going good, and you want to do all these little experiments, and next thing you know, you've lost a bunch of colonies.
Tim that ate dinner with us tonight, he told me the same thing.
Oh, really?
On a conversation coming down here this morning.
We'll see.
It's his third year.
Oh, yes.
Everything's just going to pieces.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there's a chart somewhere that shows like the third year is like everybody's dip, and then it kind of slightly starts going up. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
You're a genius when you start out. You can tell everybody the top peak. You can tell everybody how to keep bees. At the third year, you're done.
I think Brad brought that up on one of the night lines.
Oh, really? That's the first time I've seen that, so I didn't know that.
Yeah, he said if you come back after the third year, the beekeeper.
Yeah.
Well, I think what it is those first couple of years, you've got all the beekeeping book smarts, right?
Yep.
So everything, right? And then by the third year, when you kind of dip down, you get into the reality, like the real life beekeeping, and really kind of start to figure it out what actually works. So then you kind of start going up then, because you kind of realize that the stuff you learn in books, like, it's great, but it's a real big generalization for everybody, right? Because like we've said before, beekeeping is so regional, even where we are, yard to yard, it is different things that we have to do, because this yard here is different than this yard 20 miles away.
Right. Yeah.
One thing you learn real quick is the bees don't read those books.
No.
No.
Don't read those.
Do they write them?
No, they don't write them either, but they don't read them. What everybody says they're supposed to do.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I've never seen that chart, but that's really kind of cool. And something. Sorry about that, guys. Probably the other thing is, you might have got some packages, right? So they're you don't have to worry about varroa as much, right? And probably that third year, you get smacked with some varroa. It really makes you lose a lot of colonies, also.
I had watched videos for a year and a half how to do all this stuff, and I was going to make bees, and I was splitting them, and I took a few colonies and built.
Uh-oh. The hotel connection must not be great.
No. And I saw mites on them. So then I went and gave them oxalic, and it was cool, and they all just come out of the hives and died. I think I got 4 of those over winter.
Oh man,
because I wasn't on top of the grow at all. It's my first year. Well, you're not going to have too much trouble this year,
right?
Man, they took them out.
So Matt, how was your third year of beekeeping? Was it pretty good?
I think actually did pretty well, knock on wood, so it doesn't catch up to me now. But just doing a few cutouts here and there, swarms, and just letting the bees tell me, letting them guide me where to go. So,
right.
But, yeah, I expanded the last years growing up, because I think this is year 4 now, 5.
Right.
So I haven't been doing it too long, but it has been a constant slope of growing upwards, and then luckily having good overwinter rates. So.
Yeah, I think that's really what makes a true beekeeper. If you want to say I'm a good beekeeper, if your bees make it through winter, then you've done something right throughout the year to set yourself up for success for the next year. And if they make it through winter, I think you can consider yourself a really good beekeeper. Not that every one of them makes it through, but if you can get half through, I think that's a good percentage to get through.
I think right now my lowest out of the 4 years has been 75%.
Yeah.
Your beekeeper's calendar starts in August. You got to start in August, getting ready for
that's definitely
the next spring and overwinter.
Yep, absolutely.
If you don't get them fed and treated and everything, then you're behind the 8 ball.
Right. Yep.
It's like when you pull those honey supers off, that's Christmas.
Yeah.
And then the year immediately starts.
Right.
So, Ricky, I hadn't got a chance to tell you my experiment for overwintering. Actually, I did a 5-frame medium this year in my yard that made it.
You did what now? Say that again.
I overwintered a 5-frame medium.
A 5-frame medium.
I overwintered 4-frame mediums.
Where are you, Matt?
I'm just east of Fayetteville.
Yeah, he's here
a little further south.
Yeah, he's kind of in the middle of North Carolina, pretty much.
Right off of I-95.
Yeah,
just south of Raleigh.
That's Brian from Flower Street Farms. Hey, Brian.
Hi. How's it going? I was enjoying your conversation about those mini boxes, and I love how you brought it back to overwintering, Matt, just then. I wanted to share. You guys know those Better Bee little blue cube mating nukes? I have 2 of those. Last year, I raised queen in them separately, and then I got rid of one of them in the fall, double stacked it, overwintered a queen in a double stack. This year, I tried overwintering queens in them singles. One died out, one's crooking. So it's a 50%. I think that's a pretty good percentage.
Yeah.
you can overwinter small colonies if they have what they need, right? If they're healthy bees, if they have a young queen and you got your mites taken care of, that's exactly it. And I think those frames are about half frames, and it's the same setup where you can put a divider in the middle and you can run it 2 ways. But yeah, those are fun. They're fun little.
I've done quite a few of those, Brian, and it just seems like some of them, they're just really robust and they're strong and they get through no problem. And then some of the other ones, they just die out. But in my opinion, they were just weaker or not as good genetics or something. And, you know, you just weeding that out and just breed from those strong ones the next year, and it just keeps getting better.
I agree, Mark. Winter is a selection. It's a process of selection, weeding out those weak genetics. I agree completely.
They can be really strong in the fall, and you're like, oh, this one's good. And they just dwindle down and die off, I mean, quick. And just, you know,
they can die
and
off.
then you have a little small colony, and they're just strong, and they don't dwindle down. They stay strong, and they make it right on through.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, being like that third year you kind of dip. It's like learning that which colonies are worth your effort to put the work into to get them through winter, and which ones you're like, these aren't going anywhere. And then, you know, you might leave them in the box just to see what they do, but you come around spring, you're like, yeah, I knew that one wasn't going to make it. Like,
it's no need to go to those strong boxes and take from them and try to boost up them little colonies.
Right.
Just leave that strong colony strong. That's going to be your good stock, and let that little one go.
Or if you got multiple, combine the weak ones.
Yeah, they still not going to make it because they're all weak. It's something about, I just see them they just go down. You come back and there's a little cluster in there that died. You know, it just
tiny.
They don't make it. They didn't do what they needed to do in the fall. Even, you know, it just genetics not there.
I think it was like maybe our second year beekeeping. We had these 2 nukes. I think they were nukes going into winter. And Tom went out and checked them when temperatures started. Like, you get those warm days and then you get cold days, whatever. And they were super small, or this one was. And I think they might have even had a little bit of nosema, Tom. No, not nosema. Anyway, so he actually takes them and he would screen them, because these were just the bees in our yard. He screened them and he would put them in our garage overnight so they'd stay warmer. And every single day he took them outside and put them on our ledge wall in our driveway and let them fly. Every night he'd close them back up and bring them in the garage for like probably almost 2 months. They made it.
That's a lot of love there.
That's a lot of love. Yes.
It was at least a month that he did that, but they made it. But that's one of those learning curve things, right?
Yeah.
Now we would never do that. Like, it's not worth the effort. Like,
That
they're
makes
not
me
gonna,
peaceful mind.
you know, turn into anything. But he definitely babied them and they made it. But it was a lot of work.
Hey, didn't Sarah say she was coming on?
Sarah?
Earlier in the stream, she said she was coming on tonight.
I didn't see it.
So I want to throw a real big thank you while I'm on here to Ricky and his wife and stuff. So if you guys haven't seen his hives that he's made for Justin Ruger and stuff, the ones that rotate 45 degrees, he is donating one of those to Hives for Heroes at the conference. And that's actually going to go to one of our members that's actually in a wheelchair. And we've actually modified one of his gloves to become a mitt because he doesn't have feeling. And he actually, when he goes out and sees some bees so far that he has, we get a jacket and stuff on him, but we're able to just lay a blanket on his lap and stuff because he can't get up and move or, get those bees off if they do fall on him. So thank you, Ricky, and, everything that you're doing to help, us take those next steps for accessible beekeeping. So thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome, Matt. And I tell you what, we appreciate you guys and everything that our Army does. You guys are great, and your veterans. I mean, to put your life on the line, for me, sometimes makes me, it just chokes me up inside. So we appreciate you guys. And if we can do something great for somebody else, and again, pass that forward to somebody else, let's do that. And I appreciate you coming on, and you know, I appreciate your friendship too. You know, you've been a good friend for a while. So glad to be able to do something for you guys.
Yeah, and then the Bee Buzz wants to do an update with Hives for Heroes, and I'll make sure to include you guys in it and what you guys are doing.
Well, appreciate that very much, Matt. Absolutely. So Brian, what's going on down there where you're at, brother?
As he steps off.
I'm making something over there, so I had to adjust the temperature really quick. Yesterday, I moved a couple colonies out to another site. I have a solar farm contract out on the other side of town. I live on the west side of Denver, and my contract is all the way on the other side of Denver. So I have a contract for 20 colonies out there, and I've been slowly moving them out. So I moved 5 more of them out there yesterday. Today, it's kind of rainy and cold, and we're going to get some snow overnight. I was working on my presentation, Tom. You'd be proud of me. I got it to 60 slides. 60 slides.
60 slides.
Brian, more is better, okay? Remember that.
Yeah. And I have no idea how long it's going to take. I'm not even going to time myself. I'm just going to go.
An hour and a half.
Yeah, we'll see. But that's what I did pretty much all day today. I was working on that presentation, which kind of you guys reminded me of as you're talking about that third year. My third year was one of those pivotal years in changing my mindset on how I got bees. My third year, I bought 2 nukes from a quote unquote reputable nuke seller in our area, right? And I brought those nukes home, and they had bees emerging with deformed wing virus.
Wow.
And I had all these plans, that Dunning-Kruger effect where I knew everything. I was going to split those hives, and I was going to make increase this year. And I spent the 2 months babying those hives until they died. And that was my, I'm not doing that ever again. I am never buying bees from someone else. I'm going to rely on myself to make my own bees. And that's where I started my kind of attitude towards the sustainable apiary. And the whole presentation I'm doing on Sunday is about spring management practices for your sustainable apiary, how you cut colonies back, how you make nukes and splits. So you're constantly replacing your colonies. And it's that attitude of thinking about managing your colonies from year to year or perennially, So a lot of my nukes I'm making in June are going to end up being my production colonies next year, right? I have these little mating nukes that I'll use, and I'll roll queens through them the entire year. And then when the season's over for getting queens mated, I'll just lock those up. I'll double them up. I do them in the 4x4s, right? So I'll keep them in a 10-frame box, 3 frames and a frame feeder. And once they start to get bigger throughout the year, which they start to build up, I can either pull frames out or stack another box on top. But once the flow stops, I usually stop rearing queens. Then I double stack them on top. I overwinter them. It's actually only in 7 frames because I have a frame feeder in there too. And those stay nice and small. They support each other over the winter with their heat. And those colonies are my best honey producers the following year. They'll make me a nuke, and they'll make me a ton of honey. And it's that constant attitude, just like Melissa was saying, you have a bum colony, that there's no room for them in your apiary, right? That colony that went laying worker, I'm not pulling out brood, that's right.
It's hard though. It's hard because how much, if you were going to buy bees and replace them, it's
hard at the beginning, Melissa, but then you get to the point where you're like,
nope, this is so much.
That's right. But then you're like, now I have these 5 frames that I can play with, and I can make a split over here. That's a resource in itself. That's right. Yeah.
It's interesting though, Brian, how those little colonies, they're just kind of putter along from June to the December or January. But when they start laying back for that spring, man, they come out of the gate, and if you don't know, next thing you turn around, they are swarming. They will go like gangbusters.
Fast.
They can, for sure.
So you said you have a division board feeder and their frame feeder. What kind of frame feeder are you using? Because our nukes, if you use a frame feeder, it basically takes up 2 frame spaces.
Yeah. And the boxes I use sometimes they do end up taking 2 spaces. Like I actually took two of those 4/4 stacked, and I put them into 8-frame boxes like last week on a nice day. And some of them I could only put 6 frames plus the frame feeder into an 8-frame box. I wasn't going to scrape propolis off the bar ends at this time of the year, right? And try to make space for that 7th one. So I just kind of pushed the frame feeder over, and any extra space was on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
In those 4/4s, you have a lot of extra space. So you can easily put a frame feeder in there and then 3 frames. But in a 10-frame box, you don't get that extra space. I don't mind running one less frame in a colony to keep those. I have 10-frame boxes, and I don't want to lift a 10-frame box full of anything. Yeah. So that anytime I have a 10-frame box, it's going to have a frame feeder in it to just at least take the weight of 1 frame out of it immediately. Yeah. Like I double stacked a 10-frame colony yesterday. It was a single 10-frame, and it needed more space. So I had a dead out that was in 10-frame. It got a frame feeder on both boxes. So when I split that back later in the season, I'm just going to take that 10-frame box off and bring it somewhere else, and it's back to 2 colonies.
We actually just purchased about 25
25
Anel frame feeders, because they only take up 1 frame space, and we're just gonna use those in all of our nukes when we start making splits here soon.
Okay.
Hopefully those end up well, because the only thing I don't like about them is they end up using those are made out of a harder plastic, and if you look at them, they're actually seamed in the center. So my concern was if you get a cold snap or something, not that it would really freeze, but if you had a little bit of freezing going on, I would worry about it cracking that. So I'm going to be really cautious with it. I was also told too, when you pry the lip of that up there, be really careful doing that so you don't bust it off. So I'm going to try them, and that was going to be what we're going to use here to start off. That way I can keep 1 frame and, pull 1 frame out and have a frame feeder in there.
Okay.
And do it like that. So, not to lose any space.
Sure.
So talking about a little bit about.
Go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead, Matt. Brian was talking about in those 10-frame boxes. I learned, like, if you have the bottom box is full of brood, and then as I did this making packages or pulling out frames, and then like in the top box you only have like 6 frames, and you leave that space over here.
Yeah.
That bottom box, they will move everything over to where there's 6/6 and work like that. And until they overcrowd it, that space will stay empty over there. I thought that was interesting how they did that. These frames will end up being empty on the bottom, and they'll just work 6/6 in a 10-frame box.
It's interesting.
For my production colonies, Mark, I used to keep my frame feeder in the top box, and I would just keep it in there all year long. I wouldn't take it out. It's just one less chore for me. It just gets stored in there, and I'm not using it certain times of the year. But I decided to move it to the bottom because I think in times when the colony's not moving around a lot and the bees are in the bottom, they're not going to go up and use the frame feeder as much. And my thinking in putting it in the top was, again, making that box a little lighter, but you can pull that box aside and put that feed in really nicely without even having to lift that box. So all mine will stay in the bottom now, unless it's 10 frames that get double stacked. And then those frame feeders are on top of each other, Mark, so that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I like to do them like that too.
Yeah, I got to let my cat in. Hold on.
So just kind of touching on the space thing with frames and stuff, I've purchased some different hives to have in my yard for the mentees coming out to learn, to let them choose what they want for equipment. So have one of the Apiary 10 frames in my yard. And if you don't start new frames in there, if you say you move 10 frames into that box, you're not going to get 10 frames in there, because that space is exactly the 10 frames. So if there's any propolis, you need to clean it off. So trying to get a feeder in there or anything else, it's tight.
Yeah, it is.
You know, Matt, when I went to 8 frame, I was so frustrated because you almost got like a half of a frame extra space in there. And at first it drove me crazy. But
And
then
it's the best
I
thing
learned to
ever.
appreciate it. That's right. Everything just gets pushed to the middle. Super easy. And then I go and I help other people's 10 frame colonies. And I'm like, oh, this sucks. Why is this so tight?
That's the only 10 frame in my yard is that Apiary. Everything else is 8 frame or horizontal or lay-ins. So
that's kind of interesting to see what people gravitate toward when you're talking bee equipment, right? Because there's so much out there now. You've got 8 frame, 10 frame. You've got all these different other types of hives being built. You know, Ricky with the horizontal hives, and just learning the different little nuances with each one of them, right? Because they're all slightly different in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you're used to managing your bees in one way, like Brian was saying, with these certain feeders, and maybe you cannot use that feeder in this other hive. So you have to kind of adapt and kind of figure out what's going to work for you, you know, moving forward. So Matt, I think that's pretty awesome how you do that in your like learning yard, where you keep different hive setups there. That way people can physically see and put their hands on what it is they're using to figure out, hey, I like this, or no, I absolutely dislike this, you know? Because when you think about it, if you only have 1 or 2 hives, it's really easy to pivot, right? In equipment, what have you.
Yep.
When you're running multiple colonies, let's just say a dozen or more. If you want to change, let's just say a type of feeder in a dozen colonies, that's not a cheap endeavor anymore, right? That's really expensive, you know? So that's pretty cool that you can do that. And we ought to try to implement something like that in our learning apiaries for the Eastern Missouri Beekeepers Association. That way people can kind of understand a little better, you know, what their options are, because there are a lot of options based upon, you know, again, if you guys have, or if somebody has a handicap where they have to use, they cannot physically lift, much less a 10 frame box or even an 8 frame box, especially when it has any honey stores. Now you can potentially use, you know, Ricky's horizontal hive that tilts. I mean, the ideas behind this, and all of us getting together and talking these things through, this creates so much opportunity for people who otherwise may not have these opportunities, that want to be able to keep bees and get that healing process that the bees, you know, deliver to us, you know, in so many ways.
Yeah. So one of the other ones I'll be testing this year, which I'm really interested to see. I don't know if you guys have seen the videos of it, the Keeper's Hive yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, myself and then our Georgia state lead has one that we'll be testing with some individuals to see how that works. So
I seen a video on that, and I think if I remember correctly, and you all might be able to comment to this, I think it was Melissa, help me out. Who was the
What?
The guy from Kirkwood? Help me out. That does videos.
Done.
Yeah, Frederick Dunn. Actually, I think when he was at NAB, he did an extensive review. Well, not really review, but he spoke to the guy, and he really worked through all those questions and stuff. And I had no idea about those, Matt. And, you know, but whenever I had watched this video, I'm like, that's really interesting, because you always know that Frederick Dunn's going to ask those tough questions.
Yes, he is.
He's not just going to be like, oh,
Yeah,
this is great.
So Tom, before Nabi, I had actually seen some of his advertising, and I actually reached out to him because I've been constantly searching for the accessible beekeeping, and he actually had never heard of Cayman and the Expo.
Really?
So I actually got him linked up with Cayman to get him out there.
That's amazing, right?
So,
Yeah.
but because we're constantly searching, and like everybody's journey with that disability is different. So that's, you know, it's just another solution, you know, that's out there potentially. So waiting to see how it works.
Yeah. When we recently just had our Eastern Missouri Beekeepers Association conference back in February, I had Charlie is the one that came out from Hives for Heroes. And it was really awesome to have him out there. He's one heck of a guy, first of all, and to have your guys' organization kind of planted there in St. Louis, because really there wasn't a lot of opportunity yet. You know, you guys are still a growing organization, and there wasn't a lot of opportunity there. So I think we might have somebody to help lead that area now, you know, and there for the Hives for Heroes program, which I think is phenomenal.
And then hopefully here one of these days I can actually find somebody for Ricky to mentor, because they keep falling out on him. we sent another email.
They don't like.
We sent another email today, so hopefully we're good.
My first one that I got linked up with, I reached out to him literally within like an hour of seeing the email come through, and never heard anything back. Tried again and never got anything back. And I think I said something to Charlie about it. And quite literally, I think it was a day or 2 days after our conference in St. Louis, I immediately get another link, and I reached out to him right away again. And he kind of hit me back, and I'm like, this is awesome now. So I've got somebody we'll be able to work with here this year. So, yeah.
Anybody doesn't know about Hives for Heroes, you can kind of get hooked up with these guys, and they'll send a vet out to mentor with you, and they got a great program. And for me to have a mentor when I first started out would be great, and yeah, exactly. So look at Hives for Heroes. If anybody in the chat, they're always looking for people, and that would help them out, and will help some veteran out also.
Can I talk about how awesome Fred Dunn is for a second?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I met Fred last year at Cayman's conference, just walked right up, introduced myself, and I was a teacher last year. I've been a teacher for 20 years prior, elementary teacher. In the past 2 years before I went full-time last year, I was teaching half-time math. And I was like, every once in a while, we don't teach math. I just sit there and I talk bees to my kids. Would you be interested in doing like a Q&A with my group? And he's like, yeah, email me after the conference and we'll set it up. So my kids, and they knew Fred Dunn because we would do something called, on Friday, we would do something called Bees and Calming. It's a version of what they did in their class called Peace and Calming. So we would put up one of Fred Dunn's videos of just the bees like hitting.
They'd all fall asleep.
No, they'd be amazed and ask tons and tons of questions. It'd be hard to keep them quiet, actually, Melissa. So they all knew who Fred Dunn was. So they were super excited. On the wall, the big screen, there he is. And each kid would come up one at a time and ask questions, right?
That's awesome.
Today, as I'm working on that presentation, there was one particular slide where there was a picture that I wanted to show, and I couldn't find exactly what I was looking for. So I sent him a message on Facebook, and I said, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Do you have any open source pictures? I'm happy to cite you, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you can go on my Facebook page. You can, as long as you cite my pictures, you can take and use anything you want. Like how great is, just like Ricky, given that, pushing that money forward that's getting donated to him.
Especially when that's his real profession, right? Is photography, for him to.
Yeah. So again, it's that beekeeping community that keeps bringing us back, that we love so much. I appreciate all you folks that are so awesome like that. And he's just another one that makes our community better.
Agreed.
I think most of his views come from me, because I think it takes me about 10 times his video, because I fall asleep every single time. It takes me about 10 times to watch it before I finally get through it.
She just means he has a soothing voice. That's all. Not that he's boring or his content's bad.
Right.
So, if he's watching here, don't come and send hate mail to my house. Don't take my front door. She's talking about your soothing voice, not the fact that you have bad information, because we all know here that is not true.
If I wake up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep, I just put my earbuds on and turn on one of his videos, and I'm out in less than 5 minutes. It's amazing.
Fred is hilarious if you talk to him in person.
Oh, he is. He sure is. Absolutely.
Well,
somebody asked in the comments about a Slovenian hive. Yeah. So this gentleman right over here has been pushing me pretty hard to come up with one of those and build one. So.
Well, what are you getting now? You changed.
So Spanky's always coming up with new ideas and say, hey, you need to do this, or you need to work on this. So
wasn't it last year at Hive Life that person brought that trailer that had all those Slovenian AZ hives on it?
Absolutely.
That was really cool.
That was cool.
Yep.
I always wanted one just to have at our house, just because we like to experiment with different types of hives and whatnot. I just thought that one of those would be kind of cool just to have at our house.
So Melissa, I want to take it to the next step and actually do one of the, I don't know if you've seen the cabin retreats that have the bees underneath the bed, and actually do it that way for a veteran getaway type situation.
Yeah.
I've seen different retreats and stuff like that where it's like a not medical, but like homeopathic type thing, you
You can say medical because they're starting to find more and more that it's true.
Right.
The wing vibration, and then there's actually places where you can actually go like put like an O2 mask on and breathe hive air. So
there's a young lady in Northern Virginia. I got to meet her last year or year before at a conference in Virginia, but she sells the Slovenian hives, and they are the true Slovenian hives. You can get some, and I ordered one from Slovenia, and it's not correct, and I didn't know that at the time. I've never put bees in it yet, but she has a gentleman in Slovenia that builds these hives for her, and they are built correctly as they would be in Slovenia, and then they're shipped over here, and she sells them. And I've been fascinated with those for a few years, and it's just amazing how they work. But like you say, they have them set up in buildings that people can go in there and you sleep in there. If you go to Slovenia, it's just that way. And she does tours to Slovenia to tour the country.
I've seen those tours. It's expensive though. It's like
it's a couple different people doing them.
It's about a couple grand at least, I think.
I think it's a great solution potentially for the accessible beekeeping that I've been looking into. It's just the price point. I can't tell a veteran or first responder in their first year, go spend this $300 to $800 for this hive, and you have to build this shed to put it in. And so we're talking, $2,000 for your one colony. Good. Go get it.
Yeah. 2,000 is probably soft as well. That's probably a soft number.
Yeah. They do have little
They got the smaller ones.
Yeah, it's like a little I don't know. They call them hive stands, but it's like a little enclosure for the hive to go in. You can put like a couple in there. It has the roof, and then you open up the back, and then you get into the hive.
So if I'm not mistaken,
interesting.
Richard Noel has a video from a few years ago of, I can't remember the lady's name, in Hawaii, that she has it's set up like that, where it's, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
10 across or something like that, and like double stacked, and but they're the Slovenian hives, which that's how she keeps bees in Hawaii.
They take some management skills too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Big time, like Demery method, moving stuff around to keep cells open. So
yeah, and they keep them different over there. In those hives, the way it's set up and the way bees working, the way the back opens up, it's screened. The bees can move air in there and drive the nectar quicker, so they can take it out sooner. And they have the extractor right there in the little building.
Wow! And
extract it, and you stick it right back in there, so you don't have to have like a Langstroth. You have so many boxes. They don't have to do that. They can pull that honey out as it's ready, because it dries faster in there the way those hives work.
I think I've seen something about it that the hive temperature is a certain temperature, it's a higher temperature, and that whole room will stay at that certain temperature also. It's a whole lot hotter temperature in there. So
So how you're talking about the temperature thing, one of our friends out here in Missouri, Jim Masucci, who we've kind of talked about before, he did the Varroa talk at our workshop. We were just at his property, a couple weeks ago, and he actually has a shed set up that he overwinters his nukes in. And it's kind of how the Slovenian hives are, where he takes them out in the summer though, but there's holes drilled in his walls of his shed, and then the nukes sit up against that. So that's their entrance in and out. But his nukes always make it through winter. He has almost 100% success rate with his nukes making it through winter, because they're in that shed and they kind of thermoregulate each other because there's so many of them in there. So, the smaller colonies aren't working as hard to stay warm all winter.
He also keeps a heater in there too for those times that it may get extremely cold here in Missouri, which is not often, but it'll happen, to help to keep that at like 45 degrees.
Yeah, that's what I say. Those commercial guys that have now figured out the overwintering in the warehouses at 47 degrees with this humidity, this barometric pressure under red light, so no activity. So they're eating like 5 pounds of honey through the winter instead of 60.
That's the perfect scenario.
Here's
doing that with the small colonies to
I don't know.
get a lot of queens through the winter by putting them in the shed with the entrance like she was talking about.
That's
Good
the
thing
picture of
about
his shed. So
Yeah.
he just has different design, like lines or whatever, so they know where all the different entrance holes are. But anyway, he has those on both sides of the shed.
You guys were talking about health benefits and stuff. I was telling Ricky earlier tonight that this year I'm planning to start harvesting royal jelly.
That's going to be really
So
interesting.
we'll try to be doing some videos on that. And
yeah. And
it's really good health benefits. I want to get where I can run and jump again.
Mark, you're going to be selling that to China? I guess that's a huge delicacy over there.
Yeah, but it's over there. It's adulterated, just like the honey. They mix yogurt and stuff with it. It's not pure royal jelly. I have a friend here in Florida that collects royal jelly, and she says that she's the only person in the States that has pure royal jelly. Everything they've tested has something else mixed in it. So there's a difference, just like the honey.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with it, Mark, once you've harvested it?
I'm going to eat it.
He's going to get young again is what he said to me. So
you don't eat that stuff for the taste. You just eat it for the benefits because it's got a real kick when it hits the back of your throat.
Well, that's why they mix it with the yogurt, so it tastes good.
Maybe so.
Yep, your bee pollen, your propolis tincture.
Right.
You gotta get used to them.
Yeah, I think and I was talking to Mark about that is he could really start trying it in different things, whether it's a texture or how does it to get rid of my wrinkles. He probably won't do that, but to have some lays to try it out and see where it goes with is how good is royal jelly. I don't know. There's probably a lot of research out there on it already, but to actually be able to do that process and find these new techniques that actually do work would be really, really cool.
Yeah. So, Mark, you plan on grafting into bars, pulling them out after a couple of days, and then scooping out the larva and then scooping out the jelly? Is that your plan?
Yeah, it's 3 days, and you take the larva out, and then I want to make a little vacuum and to harvest out the royal jelly. That's the way they do it. And I'm going to go down, spend a couple of days, and learn more about their process and everything. And
you said she sells it in like syringes also?
Yeah, they put in syringes and sell it by the syringe.
Definitely make videos on that, Mark. Mark, make videos on those.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something different that we just don't really.
You don't see anybody else doing it. And,
not really.
We need that information.
Next, you're going to be doing venom.
Because if we can all harvest, even just for ourselves, we've got the bees, we've got, it's there for us. If we learn what to do with it, we can all, we're doing it for ourselves, not necessarily income, may just, be just such a benefit. Health wise, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if anybody knows anybody who teaches about apitherapy, we're looking for somebody to speak at one of our club meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I've not been successful.
The young lady, a lady in Florida, her website is beetox.com, beetox.com, and she would love to come and talk, I'm sure. She does apitherapy, and she does the royal jelly, and she's really into all that stuff.
She's in Jupiter. That's where we vacation all the time.
Yeah, she's in Jupiter, Florida. We literally vacation there like at least once a year.
Yeah, she has people come there, and she does therapy for them, and there you go.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of information in there about the royal jelly and the benefits and all that stuff. And so I want to go back down and spend a couple of days there and learn a lot more about it, and then I can start sharing some.
I'll tell you what, when you're down there, hit me up. I will tell you some of the best restaurants in that area to locate. Hey, me and Melissa are foodies.
Okay.
I will tell you some of the best places to eat down there, and I guarantee you will not be disappointed.
I'm always looking for those kind of places. Look right here.
That's why we go there every year for vacation, because we found where we like to eat.
Yeah.
We plan our vacation around where we're eating food.
Right, there you go.
I wonder if somebody's done a study on them beds you lay on, what the difference is between the gentle bees and the mean bees. If there's a difference,
Right.
like maybe more CO2 or maybe more vibration or something. You
Maybe.
never know.
Yeah, well, they did a lot of the studies on like people how they felt, after being on those beds and stuff. And that was really kind of cool. Seeing some of those stats. I didn't know that could boost your how you feel. After
The bees vibrate or hum in the like a chord of C.
Yeah,
and it's really soothing.
Huh.
And then if you breathe that air, it's really therapeutic. And,
I wonder if mean bees are in a different chord.
I don't know. We got to ask Bob.
I can tell you what mosquitoes are because it's definitely not a C.
Well, if they were playing music, it might be like death metal. Really harsh and really sharp.
Yeah.
I think any of us beekeepers, without looking at any studies or data, can attest to the therapeutic value of going into a colony, right? Being with the bees, whether it's sitting on top of a colony and getting the smells and vibrations, or actually going into a colony and getting enveloped in their world. It's a lot of therapy. It's physical therapy. It's emotional therapy. Man, when you're in a colony, you can't think about anything else, right? Your brain is there, and all that crap that's going on in your life just goes away because you're focusing on what's in that box for those couple
That's
of
really
months.
spot on, Brian. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head with that statement there. I mean, that couldn't be any more true.
I like the smell of my bee jacket in my truck riding around. It's gotten that smell on it.
You're right.
There's two in my truck almost all year round.
Yeah.
Mine hangs right on the back of my seat into the extended cab portion.
Right.
About 3 weeks ago, I came home and my hand smelled of propolis, and I was like, it's because you gotta go through withdrawal, right? You don't get that.
Yeah, it was like in December, I was able to get into a hive, and I was like, oh man,
I remember what that smells like.
Yeah.
I can see it right now. Driving down near Denver, Colorado, where Brian's at. You're in traffic. You look over at Brian. He's sitting there in his truck right there. He's doing this. You're looking at him with a look of,
I'll be like,
whoa. And then you turn around, you just look straight forward. Don't even look at this guy because, wow, he's an eclectic guy from Denver, Colorado. He has got to be ate up, right?
Yeah. And his truck's probably on fire,
Yeah.
The smoke from the smoker.
Right, yeah. The smoke from the smoker's billowing off the back like it's on fire.
Yeah. I like that idea of putting that swarm lure on your windows, your mirrors, your vehicle mirrors, and drive around.
Yeah. Mark had a really cool thing. He's talking about. Go ahead, Mark. You tell them the story about that, about putting little Q-tips on your car.
I went to a recent conference. There was a gentleman there. He catches a lot of swarms. I think he said he caught 60-some swarms last year. But he told us a little secret, and I've been sharing it. But he said he takes a cotton swab, puts a swarm lure on it, attaches it to the mirror on his truck. And as he's riding around, if he ever notices bees paying attention to it, he puts a trap in that area. And within a few days, he usually catches a swarm.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
His wife was at the store, and she called him up. She said, hey, some bees are looking at my mirror. And he went over there and put the trap right there. In 2 days, he had them.
That's amazing. That's crazy.
So that can kind of give you a signal where the bees are, looking.
Mm-hmm.
That's being on the prowl.
Yeah, that's definitely on the prowl.
Get your little swarm rustler and some cotton balls and go to work.
I'm just going to put all my swarm traps.
Hell, just spray it on your mirror.
Yeah.
So you just rub some on your car, and you everywhere you stop, you catch a swarm.
Right.
Yeah, Mark told me where all his 300 bees are going to be at this year, so there's going to be traps everywhere around his area.
As
I got a video on my channel where we were doing some videoing of some swarms, and up in the trees, and we were getting them and stuff. And right at that moment, a hive swarmed, and the other guy was helping me. He said, hey, these are swarming. So I run down, I videoed it, all the bees just piling out, and then they went over in the tree, and then it wasn't but a few minutes, and it's all on the video. You go back over to the colony, and it looks like normal. And, I said in there, like, if you're at work and your hive swarms, this is what's happening. And you come home and you look at your hive, there's still a lot of bees in there, and you'll never know they swarmed until you go in there and look, and then you call me and say, I need a queen. I can't find eggs, and I don't see this, and I don't see that. And like, you know, you want the timeline. What's been going on? When did they swarm? Give them this much time, and then call me back if you need a queen.
Yeah, that's right. Well, guys, I hate to do this, but I'm going to cut it off tonight a little early. Brian, I appreciate you coming on. I hope you come back on and be with us again. Enjoyed having you on tonight. It was great having Mark here and Matthew Booth that was on here with us a little bit earlier, and he's a really great guy. So we're just a little wore out tonight, and we got 2 more days of this conference here. So I do appreciate everybody coming on. I appreciate the super chats. You guys over in the chat are awesome. So anyway, I want to wish y'all a good night, and we'll see you later.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Right.